as the Earth turns on its axis away from the bright, warm center of our solar system towards the vastness of space. We reach a point called the Midnight Nexus. It is where transmissions from the dark void of our universe are most easily intercepted. These transmissions seem to be coming from different worlds, alternate realities, and even the past and the future. Dark secrets and otherworldly tales have been pieced together and are presented to you here. Welcome to the Midnight Nexus.
Secrets and Caverns, written by Randal W. Woten.
Here we are, the most amazing wonder in all of Nebraska. He spoke to the woman standing behind him as he dropped his gear bag and ropes on the dry summer ground.
It's a fucking hole in the ground, Charles. A hole the size of a sewer entrance in Manhattan. I hope you didn't drag me all the way out here for just this.
She points to the hole in the earth that Charles is now hovering over and inspecting. It's just like I remember it when I first found it all those years ago. Me, Jerry, Susan, and he trailed off as he looked further into the darkness of the mysterious wound in the earth's crust.
Well, if I remember correctly, you guys don't talk anymore. Charles, are you listening to me?
She said impatiently. Yes, dear. The entire state of Nebraska can hear you. Will you lower your voice, please? Everything carries on the wind out here. And we're kind of trespassing. I didn't tell anyone we were coming. He spoke as he began to unspool his spelunking gear and ropes for the descent into the darkness.
Don't talk to me like that, Charles. I'm on vacation. I'll speak loud or soft, however I want. This all better be as magical as you said. I'm expecting to come back from this trip engaged, you know. I've got to crawl down a hole for that to get a ring. I will.
She spoke angry, but in hushed tones, as she put her gear on too. Charles turned away from the darkness of the rip in the earth and watched as Jenny took her soft brown hair and pulled it into a perfect ponytail. Her porcelain skin shone in the heat of the midday sun as her brown eyes sparkled and danced in the light. In that moment, she looked just like Betty. Betty. Stop it, he thought. Stop it. Keep cool. Keep cool. You ready, honey? I've got the rope secured, and since you're smaller than me, I figured you'd go first, Charles said, walking over to her.
I believe I am,
she said as she inspected her final straps. Charles checked her straps once more. They were all secure. He walked to the edge of the hole and connected her to the ropes. He tightened everything once more and gently lifted her up as she dangled over the edge of the darkness. She'd been spelunking a million times. It's her hobby. Hell, it's how she and Charlie met in the first place, exploring old mines out west with a group of college drifters. That was before Charles inherited his father's money and became one of the most powerful and wealthy men she had ever known. In a few hours, she was going to be Mrs. All-Powerful. She kissed Charles on the cheek and lowered herself into the darkness as Charles anchors her and steadies for her descent. 20 feet, 25 feet, 30 feet, 40, 45. Charles was yelling out when his voice began to drift in the darkness. She heard 50 feet and then felt a thud under her legs. She was now on solid ground, 50 feet into the earth. She got chills of excitement and a bit of danger. She flipped her headlamp on and pulled on the rope.
All set, babe. On solid ground. Your turn.
She yelled up. She could hear a faint response but she already began to explore. The hole in the ground, the wound in the earth, opened to a cavern that looked like it had been carved into a giant cathedral. Huge pillars and columns stood before her, inviting her into a hallway. She knew she should probably wait on Charles, but he had already seen this place once. It was her time to explore with her own eyes. Each brick that made up the hallway floor was hand-carved with what appeared to be some long-forgotten language written on the top. She made her way forward. After a few minutes of stumbling through the long hall, the cavern opens once again to reveal what looks like giant pews carved of stone, and in the center, a stage, a giant stone stage, which hung a huge crucifix across the middle. She wandered closer to the ancient altar and turned her headlamp on the brightest setting she had available. She made a muted shriek from the back of her throat as she realized there's a skeleton hanging from this cross. From the look of the body, it wasn't ancient. The clothes suggested a fellow traveler or explorer. The chest cavity empty, ribs removed, and placed on the altar to spell some sort of ancient word. Her senses now overwhelmed her.
I have to get out of here. Now!
She started to back up quickly from the altar and turned to run. She ran right into Charles, right into his arms. Head and shoulder taller than she was, he held her tight as he spoke. It's an ancient native word for prosperity. Their gods were very generous. Well, for a small price. He swept his hand quickly across her face and began to choke her into unconsciousness. He took her headlamp off gently and threw it on the ground. The glass shattered. He was enveloped by the darkness once again. Time to give one more lamb to the old gods. Betty had done her part. It was now time for Jenny. And if the gods were pleased, the wealth would flow. This is the way it is and has always
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? Something more comes through the Nexus. Turn the channel. Hear the birds. Fly away.
They made up their minds and they started packing. They left before the sun came up that day. Exit to eternal summer's vacuum. But where were they going without ever knowing the way? They drank up the wine and they got to talking. They now had more important things to say. And when the car broke down, they started walking. Where were they going without ever knowing the way? Anyone can see the road that they walk on is paved in gold, and it's always summer. They'll never get cold. They'll never get hungry. They'll never get old and gray. You can see in their shadows wandering off somewhere. They won't make it home, but they really don't care. They wanted the highway
This episode was produced by ZTO TV. The episode was read and written by Randal W. Woten. For more short stories by Randal Woten, check Amazon for such titles as A Crimson Autumn and Farewell Forever. Also, remember to subscribe to ZTO TV wherever you get your podcast from. And thanks for listening.